Hi everyone, Alex here. Continuing with our Revit Multi-trade course from 0 to 100, we're going to start with the roof structure. We're going to begin with the bedrooms. This is going to be part 1, and we're going to focus on trusses. First thing we're going to do, we're going to check that we have our 2x6 structural member. After that, we're going to load a truss system. We're going to then modify that truss system to fit our needs. We're going to remove some vertical posts and all that. And then we're going to start with the south bedroom. And then in the next video, we're going to create some arrays, and then we're going to finish the south bedroom and then move into the north bedroom. We're going to focus in this video on how to edit this truss system. It's going to be really nice because we're going to extend the truss elements, and then we're going to cope the truss elements so that it trims nicely against the rest of the structure. And then we're going to accurately adjust the elevation of the truss system. See you in Revit. And remember, this video is part of our Revit Multi-trade from 0 to 100 course. So if you haven't seen the previous videos, go ahead and watch them now, because if not, you're going to be completely lost. Hi everyone, this is Alex with BIMitUp, where we help you with professional training and coaching in mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection systems, and Autodesk platforms like Revit and AutoCAD MEP. Let's get started. All right, now we're ready for our roof structure, and we're going to start with the bedrooms. The first one's going to be the south bedroom, and the roof structure for this is similar to a king post or a single hallway, but it's missing the vertical structural supports. In other words, no vertical posts here. The framing is made out of 2x6s, and then in the north bedroom we have a very similar situation, the only difference being the width, which is a little bit smaller than in the south bedroom. So let's jump to Revit, and I'm going to go to my roof framing plan, and the first thing we need to check here is that we have the structural members that we need. So I'm going to go to structure under beams, and then I need to make sure that I have those 2x6s, and I do. But if you don't, you can always go to load family, and then you go to libraries, whichever your location is. In my case, English Imperial, US. And then you go to structural framing, and in this case it would be wood. And then you could go to dimension lumber. And then if you click open, this is a type family, which means that it has a TXT file associated to it, and then you can just bring any size that you're missing. Okay, in my case I'm going to cancel out of it because we do have the 2x6s. But what we do want to load is a truss system. So let's go to truss. It's telling me that there's none loaded in this project. Would you like to load one now? Yes, we do. So again, under library, English Imperial, US, structural trusses. And then here you have all the different type of trusses that they have available. And some people like to use the flat truss and attach it to the roof. So this would deform into an angle. And that's nice because it follows the slope of the roof. But I don't like it because then you're duplicating framing. And then you have to chop off your roof. And we've done a lot of work on those roofs to just let it go like that. So I'm going to look for something a little bit similar to what we have, which is this gable truss. It's a 6-panel, and we only really need 2 panels, and we don't need the vertical post. But I think we can modify the family. But before loading it in, let's make sure we have nothing else that resembles what we have. And we don't, so let's load this, which is the closest to what we need. And I'm just going to do one here randomly, and I'm going to cut a section, just so that we understand what we're doing. I'm going to open my section. I'm going to change the detail level to fine, and I'm just going to zoom in. And let's see if we can start from the beginning. Can we edit this family? Let's see. So we go to edit family, and I think we could get rid of these 3 guys and the main post, and then these 3 guys. And then if you remember, the south bedroom roof had a slope of 4 in 12. So I think we can replicate this here. So we want this to be 12 and this one to be 4. So if we come here, our height would be 4. But then our truss length has to be, this is 12, remember. So if this is 12, the whole thing is 24. So we need to change this to 24. And now we click OK, and that's exactly what we're after. And now we can load into our project and override the existing version and its parameters. And now we can come here. We can edit type, and let's duplicate. I'm going to keep the standard intact. I'm going to make this the south bedroom truss. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to start defining my structural framing. So we say we were going to use 2x6s. Here it is. And if you want a little hint of what each one of these guys is, you can go here to show, and then you can zoom in. And then these are the top chords right here, the rafters. Our diagonal webs are going to be this, guys. So we can change this to 2x6s. These are the vertical webs. We don't need those because we're not using them, but if we were, we would be changing that also to maybe 2x6s. And now the bottom chord, this one here, we also want it to be 2x6. And now we can click OK. Now let's click again on our truss and let's change that height and length. And one thing we need to keep in mind is that when we modified this family, we modified it based on the parameters of length and height. But once you have it loaded into a project, then this is the actual length and this is the actual height. So if you measure from here to here, this 17 feet and something is the one that the family is reading. So it's going to be based off of your actual project. So if we go to roof framing and then we span from this wall to this wall, then that's the length that's going to use. So we need to use the actual length and the actual height of our project. So we can close this already. We don't need it. And I'm going to underlay my main floor plan. So I'm going to come here and where it says underlay, I'm going to set that to main wood floor. And now I can see my walls. And I happen to know, because I inspected it myself, that they're spaced 16 inches on center. So I'm going to create my first truss. And then let's see. Down here, we see the south bedroom truss, which is the one we just created. And I'm just going to span it from the middle of this wall to the middle of this other wall. Now I'm going to bring my section down here. And I'm going to make it a little bit shallower. We can delete the testing one. And let me go back to my section. And here you can see both the actual roof right here and our truss right behind it. So one thing I'm going to do is, I don't like the way this trusses look. So what we can do is do tab, select, and then if we unpin this, we can extend this to meet the other structural members here and here. And you can do the same thing with this one. So tab, select, unpin from here to here and from here to here. And you can do the same thing with this one. Tab, select, unpin from here to here. And then with this one, tab, select, unpin from here to here. And now what you can do is you can cope the structural member. So I can click on my truss and I come here where it says cope. And then you can say, okay, this one, cope it with this one. This one, cope it with this one. This one, cope it with this one. And this one, cope it with this one. And then this distance here can be modified. So you can do tab, select, and then somewhere, here it is, coping distance. Instead of 1 inch, I'm going to do 1/32 of an inch. We'll do the same thing here. So 1/32 of an inch. And then we can also cope with this one. So we can go back to our truss and then do cope. And then this one with this one and this one with this one. And notice that it remember that 1/32 of an inch distance. We have this one left, so tab, select, 1/32 of an inch. And then this one here, tab, select, 1/32 of an inch. And now this is looking a lot better, right? Another thing to keep in mind is that Revit by default places the wood truss at the roof level, but it justifies it vertically to the center line. So if you want this to sit on top of the roof plane, you have to change the vertical justification from center to bottom. And now the bottom of the bottom chord is aligned with the roof level. And now we can adjust our height. And one thing you could do is you could click here and then get this span right here. And then you divide that distance by 3 and that should give you your height. And I get 28.1 inches. So I could come here and change this to 28.1 inches. And what's going to end up happening is that you'll have your truss sitting on top of your wall plate. So if we zoom in there, you have your truss, you have your wall plate, and we're going to define this as our roof level. Okay, so we're going to bump it up 1.5 inches, which is the actual dimension of the nominal 2x6. So let's select our truss, and now in the start level offset, 1.5 inches, and then at the end, 1.5 inches. And then that bumps it up. And if we want to get super fancy, you could probably measure this distance here. And that's about 0.9 inches. So you could come here and then replace this number with a 5-inch, and then that will make it virtually perfect. It's a good idea to do the coping at the end, because as you can see, deforming our truss, we lost it. So we have to go tab, select again, and we want to get it all the way in there. So tab, get it all the way in there. Tab, select, we get it all the way in there. Tab, select, we get it all the way in there. Now make sure you visit BIMitUp.com. Over there you'll be able to log in if you already have login information, or if you want to become a member, you can sign up with Google, Facebook, or with your email address. And once you're a member and you're logged in, you have access to a lot of good features. You can access your bookings from here, you can go to my programs, and even some free ones that I offer there. I'm running a little bit of a scholarship program here, because I don't want money to be the reason why you cannot develop professionally. So these are all the programs that I'm a participant on, and these are the ones that I have completed. So go ahead and visit BIMitUp.com. Becoming a member is free, but I do not run ads in any of my stuff. So the creation of the content is made possible entirely from patrons and other contributions. So if you can, consider subscribing. I'll leave a link in the description of the video, and I'll see you soon.